Hi guys, this is the last session from the business track we have. I'm your host Vatsal Shah, and then today I have two Germans with us, and then Rico is the founder and CEO of Magento, and he is working as an official to Adobe Magento training instructor, and he has 20 years of experience. So we have a lot of things to learn from him, and he is accompanied by the young gun Tobias, again from the Magento. I think they are going to talk on secure commerce. And as we are going upward and having more towards digital commerce projects going on, so there will be a further more need on the security, and they are going to share their views on it. What do you guys?
Okay, Vasa, thank you very much for having us here. Yeah, I'm here with Tobias, one of the other co-founders of Magento. So we are specialized in providing patches for Magento 1 security and compatibility. So if you want to continue to work with your Magento 1 store and need more time to make a migration or a replatforming, whatever, you can use our service, so we can help you there. And today, we'd like to talk a little bit about security when it comes to e-commerce. And you probably heard a lot about security when developers talk about that. So it's like, yeah, user input validation and so on, and having tests and good code and quality here and there. But security in e-commerce is a little bit more than just having a good code base. So Magento is taking care of the good code base while we provide the patches. But a merchant or the agency that provides services to a merchant also have to think about security from a different point of view. So mainly here, Tobias and I, we both have many years of experience with working together with merchants and working together with agencies. Tobias himself has an agency doing such e-commerce business. And he also knows that merchants often don't think that much about security as it should be required. So,
just let me interrupt you a little.
That's fine.
I'm also a CDO of these bigger merchant doing merchandising products. And there we have a team of 100 people which are doing these, using the e-commerce platform the agency are building. And yeah, we can normally, we made these really big platforms and secured all over the world. And then users come in and stick the password left to the monitor. And yeah, that's the topic we both would like to discuss with you guys today.
Yeah, so that's a good example. Yeah, so password security. And password security isn't just to have a password that is hard to guess. Yeah, so hackers are, it's pretty easy for them to use big lists of those generic passwords like password 123 or any kind of regular words which you can find in a dictionary. So they have scripts and they hammer your shop and try to figure out what your password is. That's why all those security specialists say, if you have a password, make sure it's really secure by having a mixed set of characters, numbers, any kind of special characters. And if you have such a very strong password, then it's very important to not stick it next to your screen, but keep it in your brain. And to be honest, for me, it's very hard to keep everything in my brain. I don't know, Tobias, how is it with you? Can you remember all your passwords?
Sure, I'm brilliant. I'm kidding. Yeah, you would like to talk about password storage for merchants, right?
Exactly, yeah. So usually you don't have one password for everything, because what happens if someone breaches in one system and knows your combination of a password and the corresponding email address, they can use it anywhere else. So it's always good to have different passwords for all those different platforms. And in order to keep that somehow synchronized across all your devices and your brain, it's easy to use password managers. And there are multiple password managers out there. Tobias, are you using one of those password managers?
Yeah, I'm using this 1Password for Mac. But there are a lot of other alternatives for Windows, for mobile phones, for sharing stuff in the company.
Yeah, so this is very important. So you can use very strong passwords that you don't even can remember, but your password manager does, and you only have to remember the password for this one, and it's secured. Now, if you have all these passwords, Tobias, you have an agency. You have a lot of employees, don't you?
Yep.
What happens if one leaves your company?
Oh yeah, normally we have these two-factor authentication for the systems. So normally if you have the password, and you leave the company, normally you are leaving the second the second trust, like so first of all, normally you can only are able to log into our servers if you are coming from our network. So if you would like to work from home or from somewhere else, you have to go to the server through our VPN. So first of all, if you are getting out of the company tomorrow because you may make maybe a really big mistake, or just putting all our data to someone else, or and you have to leave and we are not friendly anymore, could be happened. So never happened before, but could be. We have to do something to put you out of the company now and not starting changing all passwords for the next 8 weeks. So this is the reason we using two-factor authentications, where we can just stop your access now in case of you have still the password.
And another thing, if you don't have such abilities like a VPN or two-factor authentication, just make sure that you remove the accounts from your online shop. Because usually when people leave, the account is still there. When we take over shops from other agencies, we usually see accounts dating 10 years back. We see all those other developers from other agencies, and those passwords together with the accounts still remain in the system. So remove that.
That's a really good point. If you have more than one employee, just create accounts for every employee and don't allow them to share the passwords. Normally, a merchant has 10 employees and they just share one login. So nobody is able to see which user made which changes. And as a Mage 1, we often find these problems. So one password is weak and every user is using the same.
And another thing that usually happens and sticks around for a long time are extensions that you install. You see an extension that does some, adds some slider functionality to your store. You want to try to figure out your way around that, and you see, okay, it doesn't fit my needs. And then you take another one, and then you're happy with that. But the old one is still in the shop, so you have still code there, and it might be unmaintained. And as you know, and especially we from Mage 1, we know about unmaintained code, you will have security flaws there, even security bugs, real vulnerabilities. And in that case, you better remove every unused code fragment from your online shop, and keep the rest up to date. So install the patches regularly, install any updates for extensions that are still maintained, and keep track of any change you do with, for example, a Git repository. Now, this is more for a developer side, but helps you there.
Yeah, but to control the developers, it also helps to have one developer who is responsible for security. That doesn't mean he should do everything by himself, but you as a merchant are not the best leader of security here. You are not able to know everything, and you are not able to check the stuff by yourself if it's secured. So just find a developer or a person in your agency which you can ask, did you check everything is working? And we're finding a lot of stuff where somebody is asking the first developer, is the system secured? And he just says yes, but he understands not the system, just he gets, is your part secured? And he just says yes. And then you ask your first module developer, the second module developer, and the third leaves the company 3 years ago, and his module is not secured anymore, but everything tells you, everyone tells you, my stuff is secured, but nobody talks about it's the whole stuff. And then you find open PHP my admins where you just go in and just make a dump of the complete database, and but everything was secured in a personal perspective.
Yeah, so it also plays along with the don't install code that you actually don't use. And what Tobias just said is also very important. on your live system, the production machine that you have that has to deal with your customer data and or your product data and order data, make sure that you don't have any kind of utilities there. Find a way to install those utilities on a second system, which is separated from the live system. So you can still access the same database, but it could be more secured, like, for example, enabling the access only via a specific IP. Yeah, so you can say, okay, our local network IP is X and only allow access to this specific tool from this IP. In that case, you make sure that security flaws in other third-party applications that do not touch your store at all, but are still on the same system, cannot compromise your store. And this is even more important when it comes to PCI compliance. And this is a big topic for merchants these days, especially when they are using outdated shop software. And I'm not just talking about Magento 1, which we know very well because we deal a lot with them, but also with Magento 2, for example, or a shopware, an Oxid eSales, or what else is out there. Because you still have an outdated Magento 2 version, for example, if you use Magento 2.2. And people don't know that. They think, okay, I'm using Magento 2, it's the newer product, and then I'm secured.
It could not be outdated because it's version 2.
Kind of, yeah. And this is a false assumption because you always have to install the latest patches. And this also means that you have to upgrade. And this can be troublesome with probably the latest version of Magento, for example, yeah, because you all know that a migration from Magento 2 to Magento 2.4 might be a bigger step in your project, but still you have to do that. And the longer you wait, it's like not going to a dentist. Yeah, if you have never been at a dentist for the last 10 years, then the first appointment there will be a harsh truth for whatever comes up then. But if you do patching and software development on a regular basis, and you also refactor your code continuously, then you can still upgrade to a latest Magento version without any kind of hassle there.
And that's the reason Magento is doing these different support of the versions. So just take a look how long the version of 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 is supported. So they have some versions are shorter supported than others. So just take a look and be sure that you are running on the right version. So if you more conservative, just use the version you have a longer support and then migrate to the version which is also a little bit longer supported. If you would like to have the cool new features, yeah, you have to do updates much more often.
Yeah, but still Magento 2, it becomes easier with every iteration. Yeah, when we think back to Magento 1, it's about 50 years ago, and Magento at some point released version 1.6. Yeah, so it's a very late version compared to a regular Magento 1 branch, but still there was a lot of refactoring going on in Magento, and the same happens to Magento 2 at the moment. So a lot of things just prove to be not working as expected and need to be refactored or need to be switched for other solutions. And this is a continuous process at Adobe, and they are changing Magento 2 continuously. And at this point, those changes will be much less in the future because Magento evolves and it's kind of a mature software at some point. And I think with Magento 2, we will see the same evolution as we had it with Magento 1. Yeah, so it might be a Magento 2.6, which is so feature complete that probably only small changes which do not break so much backward features might happen then.
But yeah, Rico, what's about the user perspective of security, like having SSL certificates or cookie stuff, or that's one point we should discuss. And the last one we also should discuss is what's happened when I got hacked. So maybe I do my best, but what's now? Should I do something or just revert a little bit and just
yeah, let's
stay
hope
on
we never
this
get
machine.
hacked. Yeah. Let's first focus on the user perspective. So SSL certificates are very important. So everyone knows that the latest browsers like Chrome, Safari, and so on, they require pages to be delivered via HTTPS. Usually you can see that in the address bar if you have this little lock icon in front of the domain. And nowadays it's easy to secure your page with an SSL certificate. Back in the days, it was very problematic. First of all, it was difficult. You always needed someone else to do that. You had the problem that you have to pay money for it because those certificates were just sometimes really expensive. There are also different grades of certificates. On one hand, it's about the complexity of the key that is being used there. There are some with a very short key, some with a very large key. The larger the key, for sure, it's harder to break. Yeah, so larger keys are preferably better. But I don't know, when did Let's Encrypt start its service? 2, 3, 4 years ago?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago.
A long time ago.
There was a company or some kind of a, I don't know, it's a company basically. And what they do is they provide free of charge certificates, and you can use them in your online shop for free. And most of those hosters out there are using or providing a Let's Encrypt certificate service. So you can just say, secure my shop, use Let's Encrypt, and that's done. Yeah. Another certificate that might be interesting for merchants is an extended validation, also EV. And you can recognize that if you see a green bar, a green address bar, or a green lock instead of a just grayish one. And this means that not only the communication between the server and the customer is being secured, but the customer can also be sure that the server he's talking to and he's using belongs to the merchant, because a company verified that, for example, Tobias server is being maintained by him. It's his shop. He, as a legal entity, is taking care of everything. So it's not just the communication there. It's also that you can be sure that this is the right person I am talking to. And this is very great, but you got to pay for that.
Yeah, sure. Because they are validating if they could just talk to the people by telephone call or sending a card. Let's Encrypt is just, if I am able to set a DNS record pointing to my server, I'm able to create an SSL certificate with Let's Encrypt. But it's also secured for first communication.
You talked about cookies. What is all about those cookies? So to be honest, I like cookies. I have one on my table, by the way. So sorry, it's these cookies. Yeah, you're not talking about those cookies, right?
No. I'm just talking about the web browser cookies, where so could be a special stuff for Europe or for European law, because we have these great cookie guidelines where we have to ask every people if we are allowed to set marketing or statistic cookies. We still allowed to set technical cookies like session cookies. Magento is doing that, so that's still allowed for everything we have to ask. And normally, if we stay in India, we just ask the people here, what's the story of your cookies here? And I have no clue, but that's a little bit difficult in Zoom meetings. I need feedback from the people here.
Yeah. So in that case, browsers are changing the way how they handle cookies at the moment. Yeah. So at Mage1, we just released a few patches about that to make sure that Magento 1 can handle the latest version of those cookie handling processes. What did we change lately?
Oh yeah, we introduced the same site cookie stuff, and for business or merchant, that could really be crazy. So if a user like you have a shop and you integrate some payment services or some external services like printing business cards as a service, an iframe in your website, and it works perfectly the last years. Nobody changed anything except of security updates. And randomly, the site just stops working. The reason for that is Chrome, and Firefox also is going to start that. If you are coming from an external site with a request, you are not allowed to get the cookies for the first request if you are not explicit allow reading these cookies for the browsers. And then the user comes from the external site back to your system. And yeah, you just would like to remember this user has paid the order. And yeah, but the systems are not able to communicate for the first request. And this is one patch we introduced for in our Mage1 services or other system. Also doing that, there's a module for Magento 2, which is also integrates these services. And yeah, then you are still, yeah, if you allow these same site cookies, you can use your functionality back as the years before, but you have to do that.
There's just a question here. What are best WAF options and how does hosting provider help in security? So first, we probably have to explain what a WAF is. It's called a web application firewall, and it's kind of an additional computer in between the communication of the customer and the shop, which checks the request that the customer sends, because the customer could be a hacker and tries to intrude your systems. And the web application firewall tries to mitigate those things by inspecting the request, figuring out if it could be an abusive request, and trying to apply some rules to it and void the request. So there are multiple ways to do that. The easiest one is to just sign up for an additional service that will be connected in between. For that, we have Sucuri, we have Cloudflare. I think that are the most prominent one in the Magento ecosphere. So you can book that in addition to your regular hosting company. Or the hoster itself has a web application firewall in place here. And for example, WebScale, which is also part of the Meet Magento India, I think you can talk to them. They are also partners of Mage1. They have something in place. So if you are hosting with WebScale, or if you are hosting with JetRails, for example, you have a maintained web application firewall that works inside your server. So there's no additional service needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fix the security issue in the application. It's just fixing that you are not allowed to put data to the security issue. So in case of which security problem do you have, you can fix it with a web application firewall or not. So sometimes we had these, the admin user can, or an admin user can make something to upload a PHP file and then execute random code. That could be quite difficult to fix with a web application firewall, because you're still in the admin, you maybe have to do these uploading, or if you have some bugs, getting higher access rights, like you are a normal admin user, and by uploading some files or doing some stuff in the admin, you just get higher admin rights. So it's quite hard for the web application firewall to create rules which normal user are not allowed to do this stuff, but admin user are allowed. So if you just make these firewall rules, normally everyone's blocked for that stuff. And if you have a use case where some users should do that and other not, you're getting in trouble.
And it's also important that a web application firewall is not a computer program that creates those rules itself. So there need to be very skilled people that maintain these web application firewall rules, and they have to be very specialized in security and have to inspect requests, monitor the network traffic, and create those things on the fly at the end. If they see something is going weird in our network, then they have to inspect that and figure out whether it is something where they have to take action or not. So in that case, it's not just installing a plugin in Magento and that's fine. because in that case, the code is already, or the request is already inside Magento. Yeah, a web application firewall tries to block a request from even reaching Magento to not being able to exploit the vulnerability there.
So we still have 3 minutes left. So maybe we should really talk fast about what I should do when I get hacked.
Guys, we have 2 minutes left, and if you guys can answer that question which is asked, I just pasted, it would be great. What are the
Toby,
best?
So
in that case, you use the last 60 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Normally the customer comes in or our merchant comes in and say, yeah, just revert the stuff. And normally if you got hacked, you are not able to trust anything on your system. So you have to start with your backup from scratch. So get a new server, get backups from the data and migrate your data by viewing them. And yeah, so your database could be infected, your code could be infected, some of your server stuff could be infected, some passwords got lost. You never know what's happened after you get hacked. So just start from scratch and migrate your data by viewing them and by validating these data is not hacked. So hopefully I got it in 60 seconds.
It was very great. I liked it. Yeah. Oh, and inform your customers. This is also very important. I know it's embarrassing to say we got hacked, but it's very important to inform the customers that their passwords might be leaked and that they have to change their passwords wherever they are using it. Very important. And usually people don't get angry about that, but are more thankful. Yeah. So don't be embarrassed. Just make it public. And yeah.
Thank you, guys. It was a great talk, and I think people would have loved this fireside chat. And yeah, it's an unusual way of presenting, but yeah, it is different than the rest of the session today, and I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, guys, we all now merge back to the keynote session, and I'm signing off on the business track today. Goodbye from your host, Vatsal Shah. Bye-bye.